Hello everyone, welcome. What happens when a kind-hearted old sheriff, a dispassionate hitman, and a stubborn hunter are all confronted with the same question? Does humanity hold any sway over its own destiny? This is the question quietly posed by No Country for Old Men, and its answer is never delivered through explicit dialogue. Instead, it is embedded in the way its three central characters live their lives, make their decisions, and face death. We will discuss Sheriff Ed Tombell, Anton Chigurh, and Llewelyn Moss not as characters within plot, but as three distinct philosophical responses to the same reality. Three ways of viewing fate, three strategies for confronting a world growing ever darker and more incomprehensible, and ultimately, three destinies that stand in silent commentary upon one another. Sheriff Ed Tombell is a man who lives in the shadow of the past. This is not simply because he is old, it is because his entire framework of understanding of right and wrong, law and justice, how the world ought to work, is built upon a foundation that no longer exists. Bell inherited the sheriff's badge from his father, who inherited it from his grandfather. There is lineage of meaning in that, a continuity. For Bell, being sheriff is not just a job, it is a moral calling, a role within a social order he believed to be stable and eternal. But the world he now faces no longer reflects that order. The violence he encounters is no longer a violence one can comprehend, not a land dispute, not jealousy, not revenge. The violence of Bell's time is cold, random, and devoid of narrative. Herein lies Bell's true crisis. He has not merely failed to catch a criminal, he has failed to understand why such a criminal exists. His entire system of explanation, be it illegal, moral, or religious, cannot accommodate a phenomenon like Anton Chigurh. And Chigurh is not simply a wicked killer. He is new category, one absent from Bell's old dictionary. Bell's response then is not increase his firepower or devise a cleverer strategy. His response is to resign. But this resignation must not be read as an act of cowardice. It is a profound philosophical admission. I am no longer relevant. Not because I am weak, but because the world that shaped me has vanished. Bell embodies a quiet kind of despair, the despair of a man who realizes that the tools of meaning that inherited from previous generations have ceased to function. This is not a crisis of competence, it is an epistemological crisis, one that asks, how can you uphold justice if you cannot even recognize the face of injustice before you? His uncle, Ellis, put it him brutally. It is a slap to Bell, yet also a kind of solace. Ellis suggests that this sense of loss is nothing new. Every generation feels the world they knew is crumbling. Bell's vanity is in believing his collapse is special, that his suffering is unique. At the same time, Ellis offers no solution. He only offers acceptance, and Bell accepts. He goes home, takes off his badge, and chooses to dream. Herein lies the most touching paradox of Bell's character. He is defeated, but he doesn't surrender to nihilism. He still dreams of his father carrying fire through the darkness. That fire is meaning, hope, goodness, things Bell believes still exist somewhere, even if he himself cannot reach them. Bell is the voice of consciousness, wounded but not dead. He knows the world is chaotic, he knows he cannot fix it. Yet, he keeps searching, and that search itself, not its discovery, is the final form of his fate. If Bell represents a man wavering in doubt, Anton Chigurh is his opposite, a man utterly certain. And it is precisely this certainty that makes him so terrifying. What does Chigurh believe? He believes the world operates according to rigid, inviolable law of cause and effect. Every action has a consequence. Every choice brings an inescapable result. Within this scheme, a human being is not a truly free agent. A human being is merely a variable in predetermined equation. Chigurh sees himself not as a murderer, but as an instrument of that law. He does not kill out of anger, hatred, or greed. He kills because that is what the chain of causality demands. He is merely the hand that executes what was always going to happen. The coin is the purest expression of this philosophy. When Chigurh flips a coin, he is not gambling. He is deferring the decision to the only authority he acknowledges, impartial chance. But chance here is not the absence of meaning. This is the paradox. For Chigurh, chance is meaning. The coin toss is not lawlessness, it is the law itself, operating without negotiation. This is what distinguishes Chigurh from an ordinary cinematic villain. He doesn't enjoy violence, he has no worldly ambition, he doesn't even seem to hate his victims, he is merely executing a principle, and his principle is never try to alter what has already been decreed. This scene with Collagen is the ultimate test of this principle. Collagen refuses to call the coin. She says the coin has no voice, only Chigurh does. Here, Collagen dismantled the core of Chigurh's entire belief system, that behind the mask of inevitability, there is actually a human choice. And Chigurh chooses to kill. The coin is only a tool of legitimation. Collagen, in her raw honesty, pierces the heart of Chigurh's philosophy with the statement, "You are not an instrument of fate. You are just a man who decides to kill." But does Chigurh waver? No. He kills her anyway, because Chigurh ultimately is a fundamentalist. His principle cannot be falsified. No argument can penetrate a belief system sealed so tightly. That is where the horror lies. Chigurh is not a monster because he lacks morals. He is a monster because his morality is the morality of a mute universe utterly indifferent to human suffering. He is the purity of principle transformed into terror. Llewelyn Moss stands between Belle and Chigurh. He is not very old man, nor is he a cold-blooded killer. He is an ordinary man who believes in one thing, that he can control his own fate, and it is precisely that belief that destroys him. Moss is the emblem of the illusion of agency. He finds $2 million in the desert, and the decision he makes reflect his entire mode of thinking. I can take this, I can hide it, and I can outwit anyone who comes looking for it. There is a certain arrogance in Moss' logic. He believes that with enough intelligence, survival skill, and courage, he can defeat any system. And is that not what the American myth teaches? The lone individual standing against great powers, winning through sheer cleverness? But the film systematically dismantles this myth. Moss makes a series of rational decisions. He is not stupid. He is even quite brilliant in several moves. Yet, each decision does not lead him to victory. It entangles him further in a web he cannot escape. The problem is not the most miscalculated. The problem is that he assumes the world operates according to a logic he can understand. And that assumption is wrong. The world in No Country for Old Men does not work like chessboard where the best moves win. This world works like the weather, sometimes raining, sometimes clear, for reasons that cannot be negotiated. Llewelyn Moss' death is the most blunt philosophical statement in the film. He dies off-screen, not by Chigurh, his primary antagonist, but by a group of Mexicans who are not even the focus of the story. His death is swift, messy, and meaningless. There is no confession, no legacy, no moral victory. It is a death entirely unfair in any narrative sense, but that is precisely the point. The universe owes no one narrative justice. Moss spends the entire film trying to be the protagonist of his own story, and the film answers coldly. There are no protagonists. There are only human beings who happen to live and happen to die. Now, set the three of them side by side. Bell responds to the world's chaos with doubt, ultimately accepting his powerlessness, yet keeping a small flame of hope alive in his dream. Chigurh responds by surrendering himself entirely to the principle of inevitability, becoming a machine that executes logic without mercy. And Moss responds with the conviction that he can be the exception, that his individual agency is strong enough to beat the system. And what becomes of them? Moss dies without meaning, without climax, without an audience. He is destroyed precisely by his own belief that he could win. Chigurh survives, but survives as what? As a walking wound. The car accident at the end of the film is not a moral punishment. It is just change, as random as the coin toss he employs. Chigurh is not destroyed by justice. He is simply struck by the same reality he claimed to understand. He walks away, broken and bleeding, much like the world itself. Damaged but still moving. Bell is the only one who still has a voice at the story's end, but his voice is not one of victory. It is a voice of testimony. He tells his dreams to his wife, and through her, to us. He does not win, he does not lose, he simply endures as a man who's still asking. What then do we take from all of this? No Country for Old Men does not offer a comforting answer. It does not say that goodness will triumph in the end. It does not say that evil will be punished. It does not even say that life holds meaning. Yet it is not entirely nihilistic either. For amidst all the blood, chaos, and meaningless death, there remains Sheriff Bell, sitting at his kitchen table, recounting a dream of his father carrying fire through the darkness. He does not reach that fire, but he saw it. And as long as that fire is still visible, as long as there is still someone there to speak of it, something resembling meaning, like some kind of ember in the horn of old saddle, still glows. Not as an answer, but as a question that continues to be asked from one generation to the next.